ride with me in my foul life.
Podcast World with Shag and Chad Belling back at you. Another episode. This is the Dickies Workwear podcast series. Where are you working, America? Where are you working, Canada? Where are you working across the world? Dickies is there for us no matter what we're doing, whether we're ranching, farming, construction, whether we're a janitor, whether we're a bus driver, a doctor, a nurse. They make scrubs for dentists and all types of people in the medical personnel. They are an awesome company. We're proud to be partnered up with Dickies Workwear, and this is the Dickies Workwear, W-H-E-R-E as opposed to W-E-A-R. This is our podcast coming at you right now. I'm Chad Belden, your host. Today's guest is a friend of mine. He is a American worker. His family owns and operates Sun Leisure Pools in Reno, Nevada. Pat Ladue, how are you, my man?
I'm doing good, Chad. How about yourself?
Good, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
What? Tell me a little bit about what's going on in the Reno, Nevada area right now. It seems like it's kind of, we're coming into October and the weather's still nice enough for pools.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we still got another, with our weather down here, it's always up and down, but we still got another month until we really start closing everything up. But yeah.
So you're saying that it goes into November until pools start to really close around here?
Yeah, we start finishing up our closings. I mean, there's some of those people that don't have the heaters on their pools, so they're not using them as much, and school started, so it just depends on the customer.
And what a pool heater, is it worth having as far as this area? We're in the mountains. We're in the basin of the Sierra Mountains, kind of down in the Washoe County, the Truckee Meadows Valley. But what would you have a heater on your pool just in case you want to heat it up, or is it a must to have one?
I think everybody should have one. I mean, you get to enjoy our season. Our season's not all that long in general. We get about 5 good months out of it, and it really extends out. We can get a little bit longer out of that if we do have the heater. So I think every pool should have one. Not everybody does it, though. I mean, it just depends. The smaller pools sometimes don't need it, but definitely you're getting a little bit larger sizes of pools, you're going to want to get one.
I have one on my pool, and I like it. I like to be able to swim in October, November, comfortably. Even though the wind chill or the air temperature might get you when you get out, you have a fire pit or whatever, it's still awesome to be able to swim. And it's amazing that these pool heaters can, heat 12, 15, 20,000 gallons of water up to upwards of 78, 80, 85 degrees.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to have your birthday party next week, and we're going to crank that thing up and have a good time. Even though it might be in the low 70s, we're still going to be out there having a good time.
Yeah, and it'll pay off. I mean, the heating bill or the power bills tend to get up there a little bit, but it's not even close to as bad as I thought it potentially could be.
No, I mean, during summertime, you're not even turning that thing on. I mean, the heat of summer, you're not even turning that thing on. So it's really going to be your early spring and late fall, you're really going to start using that. And so really the bill that what it comes out to be is not bad at all. So
tell me how this starts, because to me, when you fly over Dallas or you fly over Phoenix or you fly over Las Vegas even, it's hard to see a yard without a pool. You fly over Reno, there's not nearly the pool. So I'm telling myself, why would you have a pool business, right? Is there competition out there? How does one even fathom the idea to come up with a pool business like your dad did, like your mom Patty did, Terry and Patty Ladue, and now your brother Brad and you and different people in your family, like your brother's fiance Brittany, you guys are running one hell of a business. But what happens in your dad's mind to make him go, yeah, I live in the mountains of Reno, Nevada, where you get about 5 months to swim, and then it's snow season and people are skiing at Heavenly or Mount Rose or whatever. What goes off in a guy's mind to even want to start a pool company in an area like this?
Well, that's probably a good question. I mean, my dad came up from the East Coast, New York, Jersey area, and he was doing a couple side jobs with pools, helping some friends out, making some extra side money. And then he moved up here, and I mean, the weather down there ain't much better, and you don't get a very long swimming season, that's for sure. So when he came up here, he was being a union carpenter, and he wanted to find some more money for his family and a different way to do some things and maybe start a business. I think really the drive to support his family and to create a business was the reason why he started actually here.
And does he see a demand for it, or how does it start to where he's like, there's got to be something in an entrepreneur or a businessman's mind to go from being a construction worker, he's a contractor. Does he see the need for somebody to be able to supply these pools? I know that there was pool builders in the area. There's still several in the area, and I would probably ask them the same question of like, why here? You probably need one, maybe you do need two. I might be wrong on that number. I don't know how many pools a company could even build in a year, depending on the sizes of your crews. You got to worry about equipment and the ground and rocks, and even the dig can be tough, and then getting in and out of a place, and then you got the electrical and the plumbing and all of that. Has your dad ever told you, like, here's why I did it?
No, not necessarily told me exactly why he started it. But I know when he did start it in 1984, there really was 1 to 2 builders in this town. There wasn't really anybody else in this town doing it. And he saw that Reno was a growing economy around here, and he saw the demand that he could make money off of this and do something a little different than what he was doing.
And when he started it back in the mid 80s, was it always the way that it is now with the molded pools, or did he ever do the gunite and shoot a pool, or has it always been the prefab? Is that what you would call my kind of pool, a prefab mold?
Yeah, absolutely. When he actually started here, he worked for one of the concrete gunite dealers in town, and he worked on job sites with them for a while before he actually started his own business. But no, he didn't start out doing actual fiberglass pools. He actually started out doing above ground pools is what he started with, because there was nobody doing above ground pools in this town really at that time. It was all in grounds type of stuff. So he probably saw a market for above ground pools much cheaper. Average family can afford it more so than some of those higher dollar figures on those in grounds. I think he just saw probably a market for that.
So he would just go out and like put it's like a doughboy, like just a circular round pool, and then maybe then the homeowner would say, well, I'm gonna build a deck around it or whatever, but your dad was responsible for just inserting an above the ground pool. Yeah,
that's what he was doing. But I mean, he was also a contractor at the time, so he's built decks around the pools. He did a lot of different things because he had those skills of being a carpenter and all that. So he actually did pools and would do the decking and a lot of the other things out there.
So has he ever told you, Pat, like what happened the day that he's like, well, shit, now we're going to go underground with these things and dig a hole?
Yeah. Funny enough, yeah. Him and my mom have been in business for a long time, and about 20 years ago, he's like, I'm going to start doing in-grounds. So we were just doing above ground pools and hot tubs at that time, and he's like, I want to do in-grounds. So he went and got his contractor's license for being an in-ground pool builder. It took him about 2 years to complete it all and get all what he needed to get done to get his contractor's license. But after that, he's like, yeah, we're going for it.
And he has a crew at this time because it takes a crew. Now, at this time 20 years ago, you're about 13. Mm-hmm. Your brother's about 15. So you guys are in middle school and starting high school. So you guys aren't in the workforce yet. Does he have a crew of contractors that are going to go in and run the backhoe and move the dirt and do all the excavation and then the actual prefab of this pool, getting the hole ready? Because there was a lot more work that went into it than I thought there would be as I watched it go down. Does your dad have like a one-man or two-man crew at this time, and he's just busting his ass?
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, my cousin had worked for us for quite a few years doing the above ground side with my dad for a long time. Summers when he was in high school, and then came and worked with us for quite a few years after that. And he was kind of his right hand man. It was really my dad, my cousin, and 1 to 2 other people at most that were doing these pools. I mean, he started with a very small crew for sure, because he didn't know where he was going to go. He didn't know how much money he can make off of these things. And he didn't know where he was going to end up. So my dad's a grinder. He will do anything by himself if he has to.
And he's a worker, right? So like I've had so many good conversations with your dad. And even now, I think your dad's 67, 66, somewhere in there, and he still won't get out. He won't get out of the yard, right? He's still freaking putting in pools. He can't. What do you think it is about his mindset? Is it that New York Eastern attitude that him and his brothers were working class Americans their entire lives? They watched their dad and their uncles and their aunts and their moms. They were all workers. Is it just something that is a generational thing? Because my dad was the same way. You're thinking, man, how can you keep working that hard to where sometimes you're limping around, sometimes your back's messed up. So like your dad does not need, he's made enough money now to where he doesn't need to be busting his ass 5 days a week anymore. What do you think it is? What's that mentality?
Yeah, I think it's right. I think it's where he grew up and where he grew up from. I mean, they're all hard-working farming community. I mean, they all grinded. His father did. All his brothers were super hardworking, just like my dad is. It is. I think it's how you're growing up, and my dad has always been a workaholic. I mean, he always is driven to work and work hard, and he can't sit back and just watch somebody work. He has to be in the mix of it all. He's not a person that sits back and just watches what goes on and just manages and points fingers. He's a guy that likes to be in the mix and doing the work. He does.
So growing up in a working class family like that, where your mom and dad are building, quote unquote, the American dream of owning your own business, but the amount of work and the amount of hours and the amount of sweat equity and elbow grease that goes into building the American dream is, you can't put a number on it. You don't work 8 hours a day. You don't work 40 hours a week. There's times where it's 18, 20 hours a day. You come home, the paperwork's not done. The maintenance on the equipment's not done. Your dad is grinding, right? You and your brother Brad are watching this go on. Is the childhood a disciplined lifestyle of work ethic and chores and responsibilities and respect for your elders and being brought up in a way of, this is how my mom and dad raised us and this is how Pat and Brad are going to be raised, to develop a work ethic and to understand what responsibility is and understand what revenue is and how to put food on the table? Did you guys learn those mentalities and those ideologies at a young age growing up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my parents always instilled hard work in me and my brother both. They didn't just give us things. We had to work for them. We weren't just, kids that got things. We had to work for them. We had to do chores. We had to do other things. And my dad said, you know what? Nobody's ever going to give you anything in life. You got to work your butt off to get where you want to be, because nobody's going to give it to you. And
the whole time you guys are coming, let's say starting high school, are you guys turning 15, 16 and getting jobs outside of the family business? Or was it like every summer they're really, I know you guys went on maybe a family vacation, but summertime's the busy time for a pool company. Did you dread that coming into April and May and you're like, shit, school's out, but now, or June's maybe when you get out of school, and now you're like, man, dad's going to have me digging tomorrow?
Yeah, that's how it was. I mean, once we got about 15, 16, we were in the field during summertime. Maybe not 40 hours a week, but we definitely spent a lot of our summers either in the office or out in the field. I graduated at 17. I graduated a little early, and I went right into work for my parents right then. I was right in the field with my dad and building pools right then. So
talk to me about that a little bit. Family businesses, generational businesses. When do you know that this is your path? Because now you're, what are you, 33 now?
Yeah.
You're 33 years old and you're in this business now 20 years, so let's say 18 years when you're 15. But how did you know that this is what you want to do? Did you not want to go become a doctor or a baseball player or a engineer? Did you not want to go? Did you automatically know that you would be a Sun Leisure Pools guy for life?
No, not at all. Originally, I actually wanted to be a law enforcement, but I just didn't want to take that path after a while. And honestly, even working for them for quite a few years, I didn't even know this is actually a business I wanted to be in. It took me a while to figure out, what, I do enjoy owning my own business and creating my own success through my own projects and whatever I have to do, other than working for somebody else. I always liked the fact of being my own owner, and I can control what is happening in my own wealth or my own success, and I like that.
And is your brother Brad, I mean, you guys have a really cool brotherhood. Like, you're hugging, you always are loving on each other, you're always telling each other you love each other. It's a really cool thing to see, and you don't see it with every family. Like me and my brothers even, we might not be as exposed or out there in the open of our love and affection for each other, which I grow kind of envious of when I see people that do that, which that's the way it should be in all reality. You always hear, tell your loved ones you love them. You can't tell them enough. It's not like you're sitting there all day saying it, but you never know when we're gone, right? You never know when I'm going to come down with some kind of diagnosis to where my brother's going to be like, fuck, I wish I would have told him I love him a couple more times, right? So I'm wondering, like, as you and Brad are coming up, there's got to be some tussling going on, but did you guys always have this ultimate respect for each other, that you knew you would be able to work with each other and for your mom and dad and take it to the level of, hey, you guys might be in bed for the rest of your lives together?
With the family business, I don't know if you ever know if you're totally going to be able to stand each other. But me and my brother do love each other a lot. I mean, it is definitely, family business are hard. I mean, there's ups and downs all the time. I mean, you have disagreements. Sometimes work is too much involved in your family life and you guys talk about it too much. It's too much involved. And sometimes you lose some of that closeness, but always bring it back. You got to tell your family you love them. I mean, they're always going to be there for you at the end of the day. But family business can be tough. They really can be.
Have they been tough on you? Have you had to manage the turbulent times of like the turbulent times, I should say, not the turbulent, but the turbulent times of like, man, you know, like I need to say something to my brother, or your brothers had to say something to you, or your dad has to come to you guys and say, look, you know, there's a lot of things that could happen to family business. Hey, we got to cut payroll. We got to take away some benefits because we didn't have a very good summer. It's been this or that. The recession hit in 2007. I'm sure that affected you guys. Right. Or have there been a lot of times to where you have there been any times, Pat, where you're like, oh man, I might have to go find another gig?
Actually, yeah. So like you said, when we're having those hard times in 07-ish and all that, I actually did go get another job. I actually still worked at the company and also got a second job because, I mean, times were tough. At that time, my brother was actually in Vegas, working in Vegas actually at that time. And I got a second job as well as work there. So I worked 7 days a week, 65 plus hours, but we had to do that to make the business survive during those hard times. And you know what? You just got to pull your part and you got to do your own thing sometimes. I mean, it's not always going to be there. You're not always successful, but as long as you can manage your business right and do the right things, you can always pull through.
So when you start thinking about your mom and dad, Terry and Patty, and they started this business, this is their baby, all right? You could never take that away from them.
No.
How hard is it for them to accept the fact of even letting go of the reins a little bit, of like, your mom's in her 60s, your dad's in there, they're still very active, okay? Yeah. They're not even married anymore, let's just put that out there, but they're still best friends and work together every day, which is crazy. Yeah, like that shit's crazy to me. But they're best friends. They've been divorced, what, 20 years?
I was 16 years old.
16, yeah. So
about
15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
They work together every day.
Yeah.
I've seen them at get-togethers together, whether it's your barbecues or my barbecues or pool parties or whatever. Is it hard for Terry and Patty to let go of these reins? And on the other half of that, where I want to go into today's Dickies Workwear podcast is, do you think your mom and dad hold a grudge or are afraid of letting go because they don't want you guys to, sometimes the new generation kind of evolves with the times, where an old-fashioned guy like your dad might say, social media, what's that? You know, marketing campaigns, what's that? We're always been word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like, there's always these new ideologies, and a guy like you that's an entrepreneur and has a different mindset. Brad has a different mindset than your dad does. Has it been a weird conversation, or do you think that's why your dad is still working as much as he is and Patty's in the office as much as she is?
I don't think that's why they're still there. I think my mom and dad are definitely, they like to work. I mean, they have a lot of passion for it. And I don't think that they are not letting go of it, because they release the reins. They let us fail. I mean, they let us do our own things at times, and they've let us fail. They've seen it coming, but they'll let us fail to show, hey, you know what? You don't know everything yet, but they're always there to pat you on the back when you're doing good, but they give you those reins and let you do some things that you might fail with, but you know what? They're learning experiences, and that's how you grow. And, you know, like you said, sometimes us new folks want to go to this new technology or change business. And, you know, a lot of businesses that transfer to their kids, there's a really high percentage of fail rate, actually, because they do too much, they spend too much money, or they're not sure of how to manage this business. They just think it happens, and it doesn't. There's a lot to a business and the inner workings on how to make it successful.
So has your dad had pushback on any of your ideas of like, Dad, I've seen this being done, or I've learned this new technique or this new software? Has there been pushback because it's not the old school mentality that Terry and Patty are used to?
I would say more so on my mom's side, Patty's side, with the technology. I mean, she doesn't love technology, neither does my dad, but the office is more of a technology driven than more so the outside is going to be. Construction's kind of what it is. Big, heavy equipment, shovels, dirt, you know what I mean? mean? There's not a lot of technology that comes out there too much. But in the store and the new technology that comes out between POS systems, paperless systems, all these computers and, all this stuff, that scares her a little bit. And it's a little tougher for her to understand that it needs to go in this direction because it is changing. But she lets me do it. She trusts me enough in my decisions that she lets me do it.
And she doesn't second guess you?
At times she does. Oh yeah, trust me. There's long conversations that sometimes takes me months or even years to get across. This is going to work, and this is the direction we should try to go. But we eventually get there. I mean, she trusts me enough to make those decisions in most cases.
So when it comes to the buying experience, and a person walks into Sun Leisure Pools in Nevada, and they meet your mom, they meet your dad, they meet you, they meet your brother Brad, they meet Brittany. You guys are in the store. A lot of times, Brad's out running the cruise with your dad. I remember walking in. I remember being introduced. I had known you for years, but not very well, and then got reacquainted with the family through John Carey and Sherry, my business manager, and then walking into the pool and saying, "Hey, it's time. I'm doing it." Mm-hmm. Done. It wasn't even a second guess, right? Like I knew that it was going to be an upbringing. I knew that there was going to be an investment. Before we talk about the buying experience, can a potential customer look at buying a pool as an investment? Does it increase the value of their real estate, of their property? Does it make it to where as soon as that pool goes in the ground, is it like a truck that depreciates when you drive it out the lot? Or is it something that takes a couple years to gain momentum and gain a little bit of value? Or does it make the cost of that property go up right away? Do you have an answer for that?
I kind of do. So Reno is a different market than a lot of the other big markets, like you mentioned, Phoenix, Texas, Las Vegas. Those, it definitely increases the value of the home because, I mean, those kind of places, it's hot. You need a pool. I mean, you're not going to survive life out there if you don't have a pool. Here, I would say you get about 70 to 80% of money back. You don't actually get more value. But what I can say with a lot of Californians coming here, they do want that pool in their backyard. So a house with a pool is more valuable to them. So yes, they will pay a little bit more for that house that has a pool that doesn't have a pool. So it's a little bit of both. I mean, it really is. It depends on the person and the family.
Okay, so the buying experience. Do you have to have open access, complete open access to put a pool in, or do you guys get creative with cranes and lifting pools over houses into backyards? You have to at least be able to get the equipment back there somehow. Have you went to a house and had to say, it's impossible to put a pool here? You might be able to put a little, stand-up pool like your dad used to do, an above-the-ground doughboy. Or have you had to turn some people away, or can you get pretty creative?
We definitely try to get creative with that. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can use and different types of equipment we can get in there. If you have about 6.5 feet on the side yard, we can get pretty much a pool in there. But there is some yards that don't even have that, which is unfortunate because they're building houses closer and closer in those some of those complexes. But for the most part, we can. I mean, I would say we have to turn down 10 to 20 a year at best. I mean, that's as many as we turn down after doing 70, 80 proposals. That's not bad. So
when a guy and his wife or somebody walks into Sun Leisure, I want to start with pools, and we're obviously going to go into hot tubs because you guys are the number one Marquee dealer in the state of Nevada, at least in this part of Nevada. Oh, yeah. Huge relationship with Marquee, the best hot tubs in the world. What do they start with? Is it like, do they open the book and see the shape of the pool of what's offered? You guys work with a company called Viking. You're the distributor of Viking pools, and you have a very long-standing relationship with Viking. They're a molded pool company where they blow mold pools, and they're like unbreakable. They're bad to the bone. But is the first step, is it like what's available, the shapes of the pools, and then the conversation goes from there, like the size of the pool, and then you start talking about covers, and then you start talking about aesthetics, and then you start talking about insurance, and then you start talking about upkeep and all that. But it's the very first step, like, well, what do the pools look like? I don't even remember how our conversation started. I just knew that I wanted a pool, but I didn't know that I would end up with the pool that I have. You have a completely different shaped swimming pool than I do.
Yep.
So how how does that take place? Is that where you like look at the yard and say, well, I think it's best suited for this? You get a blueprint, or do you go into Google Earth and look at their backyard? How does the experience start?
So I like to start by getting the customer's idea first. What are they actually looking for in a pool? Or what do they want their yard to look like? I don't even know what their yard looks like. I don't know what size they want, but I want to get some of their ideas and what they want in their backyard. See if I can, so once we start looking at the property, see if I can build that into their experience. So usually I start asking them, what are you looking for? What do you want and what do you need in your pool? And then from there, then we start looking at some sizes, some shapes, and then we start talking about access and size of yard, and then auto covers. Do you have kids? Do you have dogs? You know, the safety of those. Do you want ease of maintenance with automatic chlorinators or salt generators? And so we kind of walk them through the steps of everything you might need for a pool. And then once we kind of talked about that, then we usually like to come out to the actual home and meet with them at their house and measure it out, go over their thoughts, actually get a visual with them, and then we'll write up a proposal and submit it to them.
And when you real quick touch on what you said about the automatic cover, what is the law behind a swimming pool to where, you know, like I said, when you fly over a lot of these warm states, a lot of them don't have covers. A kid jumps over your fence and goes in the pool and slips and hits his head and drowns. Is that the homeowner's fault? Do you have to have a cover on there to not have an accident like that happen, even if it is trespassing? I've always wondered, like, what could happen to a homeowner that has a swimming pool if somebody just goes in there and they're you heard these stories like this guy tries to get on somebody's roof to rob him and he falls through a skylight and kills himself, and then his family sues the people that are getting robbed and they win a lawsuit because he fell through a skylight because he didn't know it was there. Like, it's asinine, these stories you hear. But is it the homeowner's responsibility to keep that pool covered in case a trespasser does come in there and hits his head, or the kid falls down and falls in that pool and drowns? How does that work, and do you have to have that conversation with every potential customer?
I do. So it does vary state by state, county by county on what the actual code reads. But for the majority, you have to have some type of barrier between the pool and a human, whether it be a fencing just around the pool itself, around your property, or an auto cover that covers the pool completely. But like I said, it does vary county to county, but you are liable for that. Then that's why they have those barrier requirements, because you are liable for what happens, or if somebody drowns or hurts themselves in your pool.
So if you have a fence around your yard and you have a front yard that's open, like a lot of them are, a lot of the front yards in our area don't have a white picket fence out front. No. Some of them do have chain link or picket fences, but for the most part they're open, and then there's some kind of gates, man gates, to go into the backyard. If you have your backyard and the pool surrounded by an enclosed gate it's trespassing if you do come into this yard without our permission. I leave to go to a barbecue at my buddy's house, and I leave the cover off. It's a warm day. I've just chlorinated it maybe, and I'm letting it breathe. You're saying that even though my yard's fenced in, I could still be held liable? Or is that fence, you said codes are different county to county, state to state. What about specifically where we sit right now? Do I have to have the fenced in area and then the cover on it for double protection, or does the fence suffice?
So in your case, technically you're supposed to have a 6-foot fence, and they call it non-climbing fence, which the reams need to be at least 4 feet apart so they can't climb over your fence, which we all know as kids, we've jumped all kinds of fences. It doesn't really matter. So minimum you need is a 6-foot fence around your whole property. So you're good in that case. There is other people that have those short split rail fences that are only 3 or 4 feet. Those don't meet code. So if they were to open their cover, let's say, and leave the house, and somebody were to jump that lower end fence and get in the pool and drown, you technically can be liable for that.
That just blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind that I could sue somebody for going against a legal term of trespassing and trespassing into somebody's private property and could still get them. It's almost like you could keep your eye out and be like, I'm going to wait until they leave and keep their pool open, then I'm going to go sue them for $1 million.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, it really does. It's quite surprising. Or even hot tubs in your backyard. You go on vacation and then you come home and you notice that your spa's been used. People do the damnedest thing sometimes. It's like, how is that my fault? But and it could come down to who the judge is, how good the lawyer is, and all that good stuff. But you're still technically liable for it.
So now this guy and his wife or whoever's in the store, and they say, okay, my idea is this, man. I picture, a grotto, and I picture a swimming pool with a cover on it. I already got the aesthetics laid out. I'm either going to do stamped concrete or I'm going to do pavers around it. And then you kind of go, okay, well, now it's time to go to the next step of a walkthrough. So now you're going to go walk the property and you're going to be like, well, that idea that you had might not work, or it's going to be perfect for this, but I'm going to recommend that we go with this pool. What was mine called? The Olympia?
Yep.
So we're going to go with the Olympia, and here's why. Why, when I went into that store, and Olympia is a very popular pool, I would assume, because it's badass.
It is. It's a very popular model.
It's got the sun deck on it. It's got a stairwell down. It's got 3 corners, with one with a stairwell, 2 with step downs. It's got a railing all the way across for people to stand on, and you could put your hands up and lean on your hands on the decking. Very cool pool. It's got LED lighting in it. It's got filtration in it. It's got filtration, I guess is how you say the word. It's Saturday, dude. I've had a beer. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I'm saying? So this pool's popular, but how did I get to that point of, do you guys highly push a certain pool on people because I wanted something a little bigger to fit my backyard? Is that the most popular pool there is? Is that the easiest one for you to get because Viking makes most of those? Or how did I get to the pool? And then you got to go to the color scheme and the layout. Like, now your brother and you were always like, man, this sand is badass. I'm like, thanks guys. I got this blue one, right? I can't really change it out. But how does that whole part happen of like, all right, we did the walkthrough. What pool are you going to tell? How did you tell me to take this pool?
You know, it's going to come down to the customer. I try my best to create their dream and what they want. Sometimes that doesn't work the way they want it to because it just doesn't fit right. The theme isn't right. The size isn't right, whatever it may be. So we try to guide you in the right direction because we've seen so many installs. We've done so many installs. We know what works and what doesn't, what looks good and what doesn't. So we try to educate our customers and give them really good ideas and tips on what can look better. I think for you said I like to have friends over. I like to have barbecues. I have some kids over here and there. I want a nice tanning ledge on there, and I also want a pretty deep pool. And you got a pretty deep pool. And I think that's how we got you to this Olympia, because at the time, I want to say the Olympia was actually just coming out when you bought your pool. I think they've only been out for 3 or 4 years now, so it's pretty close to when they started coming out. And those tanning decks got very popular, and I think that's what kind of drew you to it, was the size. It worked for your yard. I mean, totally fits perfect in there. You have that swim deck, you got the deep end, you got it all.
Yeah, and I think that with the shape of it, some people would be more apt to maybe go with the shape of a pool like yours, which is called what?
A freeform.
The freeform, which is more of like a teardrop looking thing with some curvature in it, where mine's just a rectangle.
Yeah.
It's 36 or 37 feet long by 18 or 19 feet wide, and then it goes from 3.5 to 7 feet deep, or 6'9" or something like that. Do you recommend with the customer, once they pick their pool out and they start to go to that next step of deposit and then breaking ground, do you tell the customer, like, your backyard's going to be out of commission for this long, we're going to have it taped off and roped off, we don't want any traffic back there whatsoever, because now our company's back there with heavy machinery, like you said, deep holes, electric circuits, plumbing going on, all of this stuff is there. Do you recommend that, hey, for this amount of time, and I want you to tell me, Pat, what is the time now? From when you break ground to when you're out of there, it takes about this long, and do you want it cleared of people, and you're like, hey, we don't want any barbecues going on at this time? Do you recommend that?
Yeah, definitely. We try to keep the customer out of the backyard as much as possible, because, I mean, there's dirt, there's shovels, there's tools around, there's electrical stuff, there's a lot of things that can hurt somebody or other people. We try to clean up a job site every day, keep it as clean as possible and as danger free as possible. But yeah, we try to do that. A normal install is usually taking us right about now about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So it's not very long. Like when you look at a gunite type pool, you're looking at 2 months that they're going to be in your backyard. It's a lot of time, and you got rebar sticking up everywhere. It's kind of a danger zone. So with this, it's a little bit safer and it's a lot shorter time, and you get your pool a lot quicker.
When you start talking about gunite, you're talking about a traditional pool that they go in and they shoot gunite and they build the walls and they build the thickness of them, and it's got a different texture. Is there any advantage to that? It seems to me that with the aesthetics of these new pools that Viking's building and that Sun Leisure's specializing in all of their installations, it seems to me like there's no reason to go that old school route. The maintenance seems easier on these. The feel of them seems better to me, where you don't get that roughness of the gunite. And it seems to me that if something goes wrong with gunite, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a nightmare to get it fixed, to where with the way that you guys guys can patch or whatever these pools that Viking are making, which doesn't happen.
No.
Are people going away from gunite for the most part?
In certain markets, yeah, definitely fiberglass has taken over a lot of markets compared to gunite. Reasons being, the only really advantage to gunite is a particular shape or a size. And we have over 40 models to choose from, so there's a lot of shapes, sizes, designs to choose from. But if you're trying to get like this real creative type crazy pool, that would be your only advantage, is going with a gunite type pool, is a particular shape and size you absolutely need and want. Other than that, fiberglass beats them in almost every other category as far as ease of maintenance, longevity, warranty wise, all this stuff. They do beat them out quite well on all those.
So when the buying experience continues and the ground's broken, it's not just the pool that's going in. You have to have a dedicated spot in your property, which we decided to put it over by one of our shops, and you start to put in the filtration system, you start to put in the pump, you start to put in the heater. What percentage of pools are buying a heater in this area with the temperatures here? Do you recommend the heater like we started this conversation with? And what else is included in this area where I'm kind of pointing right now? What is in that area with all of the plumbing and the piping? It had to go underground. Mm-hmm. There had to be patches made in some of my concrete work and my flat work and my sidewalk work, my stamped concrete work. And the job was immaculate. It was amazing how good it turned out for what the amount of work that we did. I say we because, I was out there, part of the crew. What is in this area completely? You got the chlorine dispenser. Talk to me a little bit about what goes into that.
Yeah, so I would say, but right now about 90% of people are doing heaters. The ones that 10% is mostly the smaller type pools, 5,000 gallons or less, 6,000 gallons right in there. So most of the people are doing heaters anymore. On equipment pad, it can vary. Depends on the customer. Yours over there, you have your variable speed pump, which is awesome. It saves a lot in electricity wise. It saves you about 70-80% versus a standard type pump. So that's nice to have. You also have a sand filter over there. Great for our area because we do have a lot of dust and dirt, and those sand filters clean those up a lot better with a little bit easier maintenance wise compared to the cartridge type filters. You got your gas heater over there. You have an inline chlorinator system, which a tablet feeder, which is feeding chlorine into your pool. There is other types of chlorine options like salt generators. That's also an option, it works for some people. It's not for everybody, but it is a nice option to have.
Okay, stop right there. You've told me through our conversations that it might be a good idea for me to move into salt generator.
Correct.
Why wasn't this told to me in the beginning? Was it told to me in the beginning and I just don't remember? Or do you give the customer the option of which one when the benefits? What are the benefits of salt against just traditional chlorine tablets like I'm using? Mm-hmm. And should I go to a salt generator now that I've already spent the money on all this? And is it possible? Is it an easy patch and an easy, just an easy switch out? Is it a big investment? Is it expensive? Why didn't I do it from the beginning?
I believe it was on your proposal. So like in our proposals, we have like kind of an a la carte items at the very bottom. And those are the kind of things that we suggest, but you pick and choose what you want. And we give them two different options, which is an inline chlorinator, which is a much cheaper option, or the salt generator, which is a little bit more expensive. Not crazy, but it's a little bit more expensive than just your regular inline chlorinator. It is an option. You can switch it out real easy. It's pretty easy to do. It can be done in a couple hours. No crazy plumbing needs to be redone or anything like that. We need a power source, plumb into the cell into the line, and it's actually pretty easy. I like salt. There is some people that are not. The benefits of it maintains itself for the most part. You do save money in a longevity of the salt generator. As far as 5 to 6 years, you start saving money what you would spend on chlorine. So that is a benefit as well. It is softer on the eyes and the skin for most kids or people that are sensitive to chlorine. It is a little bit more sensitive. But in the long run, it is still chlorine. But it's generated from sodium.
So it actually turns into chlorine after the process?
It does. So it goes through a process called electrolysis, and it uses that sodium, and it actually turns it into chlorine.
When you swim in it, when you're in the ocean, you taste salt. Mm-hmm. Do you taste the salt when you swim in this kind of pool?
Nowhere near what you taste in the ocean, but you do taste salt. Yes.
To the point to where it can be distasteful?
No.
So you're telling me as the owner of a pool company, and your mom and dad would maybe say the same, would they agree with you that salt is the way to go and that I should change it out?
They would agree with me in most aspects. I think the only thing that is the downfall of it is salt's corrosive. Metal things around it. There is metal parts in the equipment of the pool. There's metal fixtures around the pool. That's the only downfall. It can have in a long-term basis corrode metals, which you have to replace those parts eventually.
So do I have these parts that you're talking about around my pool?
You do.
Such as?
Like the drum where your auto cover reels onto, it's a galvanized steel, and that water's touching it constantly. When you roll that cover up, that salt water is wrapping around that galvanized steel drum, and after time, it can wear on.
How much time?
So I would say I have a customer, the oldest one that I can think of that had an issue was about 15 years old. But he also had his own chemistry issues where he was adding way too much salt. So he had some other guy work on his pool, and he messed his pool up quite a bit. And he went about 3 times the salt level it should have been at. So it corroded a lot faster than it ever should have.
What percentage of a customer base of that buying experience says, because I assume that you guys from the very beginning offer them a service package for these amount of months. It's going to cost this much a month. You're going to get this many times service. How does that work out? And do most people take you up on this offer depending on, or are they apt to do it after they hear what you charge for it? Or are most guys like this man that says, I'll do it myself, and he ends up adding too much salt and creating more of a headache for himself than you would have with your chemistry background and being able to control the pH and the chlorine or the salt levels in this case, etc.?
So with this particular customer, he's actually in Carson City, so about 30-40 miles from us, and we actually don't do a regular monthly service in that area. We build out there, but we don't do regular monthly service. So it was one of those things that we just don't service that area. So it was up to him to figure out. But here in town, we do offer weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly services to come check on your pool chemistry, clean your pool. A lot of customers do take that up, and especially nowadays, it's more popular. Everybody's busy. They have stuff to do. They got running their kids to soccer practice. They got schoolwork to do. They got jobs that are taking up a lot of their time. They want to just enjoy their pool when they get that time to be able to enjoy it. They don't want to be out there being Mr. Chemist, mixing stuff up, testing things. They want the ease of maintenance, and we were able to provide that for them.
Do you enjoy that part of your job? Because I know that's one of your responsibilities. Do you enjoy walking into a backyard with your Inspector Gadget kit and being able to make sure that water's perfect? Because when I open my cover and I see it when it's perfect, I'm like, damn it, man, that's beautiful. Like yesterday I opened it, I'm like, holy shit, it looks awesome. Because you were out here Wednesday, and it just perfect for this upcoming birthday party we're talking about. Do you enjoy it? Is it something that you take a lot of pride in, or is it just something that's there? Honestly, do you wish you had people hired, or is there an opportunity to hire somebody, or you just enjoy doing it and that's why you do?
Well, we do have a full-time tech that does most of the accounts. I do have some accounts that I service myself, like you, close friends, family that I do service, but I do enjoy it. I do like the chemistry aspect of it. I do like to see the end result, and even some of the challenges that come with water chemistry, because there is some challenges that come up, new things, old things, in different bather loads, areas, climates, trees, bushes. A lot of things come up, so you kind of have to really think about it sometimes. I've been in a long time now, and there's not much I haven't seen, but there's still times where I get stumped on some chemistry, and it's nice to be able to conquer that and achieve something and figure out what that was.
So is it okay to pee in a pool?
I don't know if it's okay. I mean, most people do, but I don't think it's okay. No.
Is it a myth that there is something out there you can put in a pool that when I piss myself in the pool that it turns a certain color around me and I get embarrassed around the party goers?
Yeah, definitely a myth, but I do get actually quite a few calls every summer for that product.
Does it mess up the pH if I have a party at my house? Like you saw, I've had several families here with their kids.
Yeah.
Let's say they got 10, 12-year-olds in there, 10, 9-year-olds. And I'm noticing that they're not getting out of the pool at all. I'm like, that's weird. You guys are drinking a ton of soda, but you're not getting out of the pool.
Yeah.
Something's going on here. Something's got to give. It's safe to assume that one of them, probably Chase, is peeing in my pool. Love you, Chase.
Yep.
But is it bad, or does the chemistry combat that right away to where after they get out and it's only one day where there's some urinating going on in a pool, does the pH take over and the chlorine take over and squash that? Or is it smoked and you got to get on it right away if you know people? Because I assume public pools have got to be maintained every day with the amount of that going on, right?
Yeah, that's right. So public pools are maintained usually, especially hotels, public pools like that, they usually have a CPO certified guy on the property. So he's either there all day long or he's there twice a day, morning and night, taking care of that. But yeah, I mean, bunch of people getting in your pool does affect your chemistry big time. Our bodies are acidic. I mean, the sweat, the urine, all that is very acidic. So it does drive your pH down. Urinating in a pool, it usually chlorine binds with it and turns into ammonia. And you got to get that out of there by oxidation and adjusting your pH and alkalinity levels.
So it's not good for it.
No, it's not good for it. But you can do it.
You can do it.
But it's not good for it, no.
I wonder if I ever did. Like, thinking back when I was at Bowers Mansion or Opio Pool or something, like, I wonder if I was one of those assholes that were just in there peeing in the pool all the time. Or if I was actually getting out and going into those. Remember the wet foot bathrooms and the concrete floors?
Oh, yeah.
And then part of the floor would be slippery and they had the metal sinks in them like a rest stop. I mean, we grew up in the prime time of freaking of hygiene for the human body.
Yes.
But yeah, so there is. It's like, if you go into a pool, like when you go into a pool at a gym, they have showers like right up against the pool because they want you to at least rinse off and get some of that sweat, that acid, that acidity off of your body.
Yeah.
But if you have all of these different people in that pool, adults, kids, guy might have came straight from a hunt or whatever it is, there's a chance that pool is really going to look different on Sunday than it did on Saturday when I opened it for the party, because of the shampoos, because of the lotions, because of the soaps that are being used, because of people not bathing, the night before or the day of the party. So this is like why maintenance is so important on a pool, because if you let it go too long after you have this many people swimming in it, my pool gets used a lot. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like more than an average, I bet.
Oh yeah.
I would say the average people may have 3 or 4 people in their pool a week, where I'm having a lot because I don't know if it's like I'm just down in the dumps and I'm lonely, Pat, and I got to have people around. No, I'm just kidding. But I like to entertain. I like to have people around. I think that's what life's all about. So obviously you got to work a little bit harder to maintain that. And thank God I have you and your brother, and have you guys just out here all the time to, we're barbecuing, we're hanging out, you guys are watching it. But to me, it's a no-brainer to have that service part. But my question is, when you buy a truck and you go to a dealership, a Ford dealership, their service department rams it up your you-know-what when it comes time to get that thing serviced, right? That's why there's so many independent mechanics out there, because not many people like to go to a dealership for their maintenance. Is this something that is a profit maker for you guys, and that it can be easily done by me, even though it's going to take a little bit of time once a week or twice a week? Or is it something to where you guys are like, hey, we're the best at it. It's affordable to do. We're not going to rip you off. Thank you for buying the pool from us. Do you service other pools if you did not do that pool, a gunite pool or anything else? Or is it just something that you guys are in it for the money?
I think a little bit of everything. Definitely, we like to keep our customer base around. We definitely like that. We do make money off of it, but it is also a service that a lot of people don't want to do themselves. I mean, it's like mowing your lawn. Everybody can mow a lawn, but I mean, how many landscape companies are out there? But people pay for that service because, one, it looks usually better than they can do it, or they don't want the headache, or they're going to have a party coming up and they don't want it to be all cloudy and messy and then have to deal with, I got a messy, cloudy pool for that party and look bad. So it's really more convenience, I think, for our customers, and they pay for that convenience. It really is. It's a convenience fee, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it's very convenient, and I think that there's a talent that goes into it, and like you put your stick in there. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
And you're matching these colors. I'm not even good at that. I might be colorblind.
Maybe.
I'm like, I got it perfect, and then you guys look at it and you're like, dude, are you Stevie Wonder or what's going on here? That's not even close to the color scheme of this stick right here. So you have the ability in this area to keep your pool open for, let me think about this real quick. April comes around and you're going to get some swim days in April.
Yeah.
May, you start to get more.
Yes.
So I'm going to say 15 days in April, and then May, June, July, August, September. 5 times 30 is 150, plus 15 is 165.
Yeah.
You're looking at almost half the year where I was swimming in my pool today. So that tells me right now it's October 10th, 2020. It's pretty freaking good. I'm going to swim in my pool next week. Obviously, I'm heating it a little bit.
Yeah.
But Lake Tahoe doesn't get above really 66, 67. In some of the shallower areas around the beaches, 72. It's a cold-ass freaking alpine lake. I mean, that lake is snowfall. It's freaking cold. You've said yourself, you're on record of saying you don't enjoy swimming.
No.
I love jumping off a boat. I love taking a boat out on the Tahoe and finding a depth finder, and when it reads 1,000 feet, because it's 1,600, 1,700 feet deep in places.
Yeah, it is.
Tahoe is a freaking wonder of the world. I love jumping into that clear blue water at 1,000 feet. It just makes me feel alive, right? So my pool, when I had it up at 85 a couple weeks ago, I did not enjoy it. I have a hot tub at 103, and that's where we're going to transition into now, is the spas and Marquee and your partnership with them, a badass company. But that's too hot for a swimming pool. I don't understand the mindset of swimming in 85, 90 degree weather. I'm asking you, Pat Ladue, what is the perfect temperature for a northern Nevada swimming pool in weather that's averaging anywhere from, I'd say, 78 to 90 degrees a day?
I would say most people will keep it between 78 and 80 degrees, but I have customers that won't touch the pool unless it's above 80.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you like colder water. That's awesome. I mean, there's no average temperature that suits everybody. I'll tell you that. I mean, you like colder. My brother likes warmer. I mean, my brother hates cold water. Totally does. But honestly, I like colder pools. I hate hot tubs, though. I cannot do 104. It's not for me. I like 101. That's about as much as I go.
And that's weird to me. Like, you would never think that the human body could tell the difference between 101 and 104. That's crazy to me.
Big time change between even 1 degree, like even 101 to 102. I could feel it. You can definitely feel the change in that temperature.
104 is perfect for me.
Yeah, it's just too hot.
I sat in this morning for 2 cycles, about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Is there a certain amount of time that you should discipline yourself of, like, I got to get out of here? Remember, like, you get the wilted dishwashing hands?
Yeah.
Is there a guideline to go by when you're in 101, 104 degree water?
When you're getting up to 104, I would definitely, try to keep it under an hour. But if you're at that 100 degrees, you can push it over an hour, definitely. Your body it can get hypothermia the opposite way and too much heat. And it can have causes or bad issues with your body and make you feel a little sick or queasy or something else like that. But yeah, I would keep it under an hour if you're going 104 plus.
When it comes to the layout of the yard, and now you're back into that buying experience, do you think that somebody like me went overboard with what we were planning and what the vision was with Russ and what his vision was with the concrete and the rocks and everything that we did? Is it overboard what we did here? Is that average of what you're seeing in today's society? Because what I'm saying is that you mentioned Californians coming here and they're selling houses for buku bucks that are nowhere near the size of the house they're buying up here, and they're buying it for, they're banking a lot of money. So they're taking a little bit more of that money and putting in a pool and extravagant shit. Are you seeing more? What do you think of what we did here, first of all? And are you seeing more of that? Have you always seen that kind of stuff? Is this kind of the par for the course, what we did here? Or is it kind of like the new age of, like, hey, people are really starting to, like, go that extra mile to make it more of an experience in their pool and not just a pool with a cover to do some laps in?
So I think with your backyard, I think we nailed it with what you do and what you were looking for. I mean, I think we hit the entertainment spots. You got your fire pit. You got your swim-up bar. You got a nice pool, good size in there. Honestly, I think your backyard came out great. I don't think you could have done much better on it. I think it was all the contractors that worked on it did an awesome job. I think it really came together well. Reno is a different market. It really is compared to a lot of places. When people, even Californians coming up here, they don't have and don't want those extravagant pools they had in California. California, those big markets, they do some wild things. I mean, they're giant pools with, all kinds of grottos and 6 hot tubs and bridges over them and all this stuff. But when they come here, they don't want a lot of that craziness, to tell you the truth. I have seen maybe a handful of pools that were way wild and crazy and creative. A lot of people are more basic, nice, well put together backyards and pool designs.
And when you move into, the spa part of it, in that general layout, originally when I did my walkthrough and I took you and your dad and your brother up to the waterfall area, and I'm like, this is where I want the hot tub, and your dad's like, no, I wouldn't recommend that. And I looked at your dad, I said, what do you mean? This will be beautiful, sunken in the ground, waterfall around it, wrapping around you, got this little nook area. He's like, well, here's why. And I go, well, and he goes, well, in simple terms, you're never going to come out this far because it's going to be 40 degrees. If it's right out where I want to put it, you're going to come out your door, you're going to get in it, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to go back into the heat of your home, the warmth of your home. If you put it out here, trust me, your mindset's going to change of walking back and forth to this place when it's cold outside. Because this morning was like the ultimate hot tub morning. It's getting down into that 40-degree barrier, almost to freezing. You know, it's 38, 40. You're drinking coffee in the pool. It was overcast this morning. You could just feel fall and winter in the air, like fall mainly.
Yeah.
That's ultimate, right? It's way better than a summertime sit. I think you're even on record as saying you really don't even use your spa in the summer barely.
I don't. Nope.
But your dad was right. Like, do you recommend that in this buying experience? Like, hey, now we got Marquee. We walk into the showroom, pre-COVID showroom, to where I'm like, damn, man, you guys are either selling them like crazy. But again, a lot of factors came into COVID.
Yeah.
It's starting to get better now. I heard a success story the other day with you guys that you got 2 coming that you didn't expect.
Yep.
Things are looking up with manufacturing and getting them because Marquee is the best. I'm so glad that you guys are the number 1 distributor of them because I love mine. Is your dad right on that? Is that ideology right? Like, look, if you put it way over there, sooner or later, you're going to be like, screw it. I'm not even walking out there. It's too cold. Or do you see it quite the opposite of where I should have put it up there and not listen to the old school mentality of Terry Ladue?
No, I think he's right on. I mean, you have a nice table set sitting up there. I can't say I've ever sat up there once. And I mean, you don't have a dining set down by the pool area where you cook all your food or anything. And I've never sat at that dining room table once. So I think, yeah. I mean, when it's cold outside, when it's, 20, 30 degrees, you don't want to run out there and go get in the hot tub when it's 40, 50 feet away from your back door. You're just sitting right by your master bedroom door that you walk right out. You're 3 feet from it. You hop right in. You hop right back out when you're done.
Yeah, I think he was right on. And then last night I started looking at it when I was talking to you at dinner about, man, I think I want to do something to spruce up that area. Because aesthetically, you just start getting ideas like, hey, my experience will be better if I do this.
Yeah, no, totally.
It could get better to do this. So I'm thinking about some of that stuff and talking to Russ about where we can go with that. But why Marquee? What makes them the ultimate tub? Is it the number of jets? Because I assume a lot of manufacturers can include a lot of jets. Is it the ease of use? Is it the construction? Is it the pumps and the motors? Why Marquee? Why have they become like something that Pat Ladue or Terry Ladue, Brad or Patty would say, we have our stamp of approval. This is all we sell. That's the only one y'all sell.
That's right. That's a good question. Marquee is a great company. So we, on our big ticket items and whatever items we can do with, we try to have an American-made product. And one big thing about Marquee, it is American-made product made up in Independence, Oregon. Another thing is that they're a 100% employee-owned company. The quality coming out of that manufacturing facility is far superior where most of the other tubs are being made in Mexico nowadays. And the quality is just not there. Marquee doesn't have the most jets in the industry. There's a lot of people that do a lot of jets, but they don't do them right. They do a lot of small jets, which push blood flow away from the muscle area, doing the opposite effect of what you're actually trying to achieve. You're actually trying to bring blood back to that area to make it feel better and put nutrients and get back into that muscle group so it feels better. But Marquee actually does more volume and has the most gallons per minute coming through the jets. So that's where their hydrotherapy really kicks in. They're able to put 160 gallons per minute, let's say in your lower lumbar or your upper shoulders, and really target those spots of your body that are hurting. Maybe not your whole body hurts, so why do you need your whole body massage at one time? You don't go to masseuse, you don't have 6 people working on you. You got one person working on you and working on your sore spots, but eventually working down your body. And what's nice about Marquee is you can place those areas, you can control those areas you want to work on throughout your body, starting with the sorest part and working down to the least sorest part. And that's a really nice thing about Marquee because nobody else in the industry can do that with their valves and their jets. Big thing about that. Customer service over there is awesome. They've been voted number 1 manufacturer for the past, I believe, 7 years in a row now. Number 1 customer service every year. They're number 1 on Consumer Affair reports. I mean, they're just a really great company. I've sold other brands before, And the quality, the customer service, and the end product, and for the end user, is by far superior to anything I've ever seen out there.
If I have weekly service on my spa like I do the pool, and Pat or your number one tech is coming out there once a week and performing the chemistry, the pH, the chlorine, everything that's going into this, is there salt in spas? Do you offer that? Is that something that you would even recommend? And even with weekly service, Pat Ladue, when do I change out the water? Do you have to change it out a couple times a year? I'm a year-round spa guy, even though I'm way heavier in the fall and winter. I travel a bunch in the fall and winter with the Foul Life and duck season and all the stuff we're doing, Bandit and all of that. But when I'm here, I'm in that freaking thing a lot.
Sure.
I'm addicted to it because of the therapeutic response I get with my body. Do you have to change it out, and when? How many is it? Every other week, or how often should you drain that? And what is the easiest way to drain it? Do you take a panel off, or do you use your sump pump that I use on my pool cover that's automatic? Do you just sink that in there? Give me a little bit of background of the pH, the chemistry in a hot tub, and no matter whether I get weekly service or let's assume I'm getting weekly service, should I still drain it once in a while?
It's a good question. So to answer your first question, salt is in some manufacturers. They've kind of fell on their face with it. It's not. They have not dialed it in for hot tubs yet. There's a lot of metal parts. I mean, you got nice chrome jets in there. You got metal heating elements. You got metal silver tubes, pump shafts, all this stuff. So salt in a spa has not been dialed in, and I don't recommend it for anybody in personal preference, but I do love it in a pool setting. Marquee uses what's called the At Ease system, which we use a silver mineral bed, and a very low dose of chlorine to actually sanitize our hot tubs. I'm talking 75% less than you'd be using on any other hot tub in the industry. So the ease of maintenance is nice because it's in a nice inline system and injects those chemicals for you. So it's a lot easier for that homeowner, if they are doing it by themselves, to be able to manage that chemistry. But you should definitely change your spa water. It depends on your usage. In the industry, we go by bather load, but not everybody does. But I recommend a minimum every 4 to 6 months, depending on your usage.
4 to 6 months. So you can go a half a year. Okay, well, when you start talking about beta load and usage, what is normal? Like, how is that depending on how many different people are in it? Kids don't bathe as good as you think that they ought to, maybe. You've heard me say no more kids in the hot tub. I'm tired of these. I've even heard your brother say sometimes my hot tub water is the worst that you guys have ever seen because I'm always a sucker for letting these kids in there, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can completely blame it on the kids, but I have ran into some issues because I use the heck out of it. You all of a sudden you look over and you're like, I didn't tell you guys that you could. What? There's 13 people in my spa right now. What is going on? Right? You've seen it yourself.
Oh yeah.
So when that instance happens and you have somebody like me with a ton of use, is it normal to go less than 4 months?
Oh yeah, big time. So there is a calculation that we go by on how many people, how often, and how many gallons you have in your water. And that's how we would base most people's off of. With yours, we are draining yours and refilling yours a little bit more often than the average user because you do use a lot. I mean, me in the fall and winter, I use it almost every single night, sometimes twice a day, morning and night. It just depends. So in the wintertime, I actually drain it a lot more frequently than I would in the summertime, because of that bather load. I mean, and the average user, I would say most homeowners, it's 1 to 2 people, 2 to 3 nights a week for the average homeowner. But I do have those other clients that are 2 times a day, 7 days a week, 24/7, 365 days a year.
Here's the ultimate question, Pat Ladue. If it's safe and there's no kids around, not even any adults around, I'm just talking about me, in my birthday suit, is it cleaner and safer to get in my pool and in my hot tub totally naked in the rough than wear bleached out swimming trunks that ran through wash cycles that have soap in them, detergent, the things that you wash your clothes with? Is it a cleaner use if you go buck naked when it's the right time, where your neighbors aren't, like I have a very private yard with tons of trees and stuff. People can't see back here, but obviously you got to use your head. My simple question is it a better alternative to be naked when you can, as opposed to wearing bathing suits that are full of the detergents and soaps?
Absolutely. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. It's honestly the best out there. I do it all the time myself. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, you're right. Detergents in the shorts. Where have those been? Have they been on the floor? Did you throw them in laundry? You're like, oh, I'm just getting the hot tub. I'm going to throw them back on. Who cares? You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, absolutely, it does change the water chemistry. Our bodies have thousands of organisms and stuff on it. We rub up against a bush, a wall, a tree. Our skin collects all that kind of stuff, and that goes right into that water you're going to bathe in. So same thing with your shorts. It collects a lot of things on it. And detergents, I mean, that's number one. If your washer didn't get all that detergent out, it's definitely going in your hot tub, without a doubt.
So naked's the way to go.
Absolutely.
As long as that's the right situation.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying go out there in public and do that, but yeah, in your own backyard, privacy, whatever, absolutely.
So you see a lot of accessories for pools and spas. Whether it's pool toys or whether it's speakers and music and lighting and all of the stuff. The coolest thing that I've seen that I have that it took you literally, you and your brother, maybe 0.7 seconds to sell me on is it's Hayward, right? Is this the name of the company? This Hayward vacuum that is kind of like the vacuum in your house. What's it called?
Roomba.
The Roomba. It's kind of along the lines of this. I've heard ramblings that this was designed by some of the original founders or scientists of Dyson vacuums. This thing is freaking awesome. Like, you cannot own a pool, that's stupid to say. You can own a pool, go for it.
Yeah.
But you should not own a pool without one of these. Is that good to say?
Absolutely. I'm totally in that. I tell all my customers that are buying a pool, an automatic vacuum is the best money you'll invest. Because it eliminates all the maintenance. It takes out so much time on the maintenance. You get to enjoy that pool more. If you can do chemistry, it's done. I mean, if you know how to do chemistry, it should only take you 10, 15 minutes a week. The pool's done. It's ready to be used. So you're getting a lot of time back and not spending on cleaning and brushing and vacuuming. Because who wants to go in a pool with a bunch of leaves and dirt? Just not as fun. You want a nice clean pool when you get in there. And that vacuum runs by itself. I mean, it has its own settings. You can do it right from your phone.
Yeah, you got it. I mean,
you can control it with your phone.
And it doesn't just stay on the floor. That's what blows my mind.
Yeah, it scrubs the tile lines. It goes up the walls. It does everything.
It gets all the gook off there. It gets all of the scum line off of there. It gets all the leaves and the sand and everything off the bottom. It'll pick up anything. I've seen it pick up things that I forgot were on the bottom, like some of my kids, like one of Alyssa's or her friends' freaking, dive toys or something. Next thing you know, that's in there. But it's never hiccuped one freaking time. It literally just picks up. The pool's immaculate. And then what blows my mind about this Hayward vacuum, what's it called?
It's called an Aquavac 600 or 650. 650,
Aquavac 650 by Hayward. You would think that you couldn't leave it in the water, but you told me it's the one unit that you could just leave in there.
Yeah, so Hayward manufacturer made this one with the intent to leave it in the pool, and it actually is still warranted if you do leave it in the pool. Most other manufacturers will void your warranty if you leave it in your pool. They won't cover anything that does break or anything like that because they're not using quality parts to protect itself from the chlorine and the constant being submerged.
Okay, so this thing can stay submerged for days at a time.
Days and hours.
You can put it on timer to where every 48 hours or whatever, it starts itself and then does its cycle.
Yep.
That cycle depends on the 3 different settings. You can do the floor, you can do the scum line. It'll take its front 2 tires and literally stick them out of the water line and scrub that thing down the wall. Mm-hmm. It'll do the stair. I mean, it does trick shit.
Yeah.
It's got a filter on it. Like, do you have to pull it out of the water and empty that manually? Or is that something that you can do every 7 or 8 runnings? How does that work with the vacuum?
So it does have a little indicator on there when the filters are getting full. It has a little indicator on there telling you it needs to be taken out. And it's super easy. You can tug on that cord 3 times. It'll actually come to you and come to the top of the water. And you can pull it right out, pop the little lid, empty it out, put it back in. You're going again. And which is nice. So it tells you can see it from your app, you can see it from your main control, but yeah, they work great.
I think they're freaking bad to the bone.
Yeah.
So we're going to end this by talking about, according to your brother, my pool's been in the ground 8 years. Like, I don't even know what he was like. Really, Brad? Like, what are you talking about? I love your mom and dad. I love your brother. I love Brittany. You guys are badass family. I know that you would never try to lead me or any of my friends or family or any of the people I recommend. And there's been a lot of recommendations to you guys. You know, you're working with Neil now. You're working with several people. I love being like, you know, hey, we're part of Sun Leisure. I wear your logo. I have it on the TV show. I have it on, like, you know, everything that we do. I love it. I have a lot of pride in the brand and the company. Where do I go from here? Assuming I stay in this house 5 more years. Let's say that I'm in this property 5 years. People say you're an idiot if you'd ever even leave here, right? And I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to stay here, but maybe I'll just go build something else and maybe keep this if I can financially afford it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But where do I go from here? Is there something besides the salt water that we're discussing? Is there anything else? I know we're going to talk about a new cover and maybe a new color on that. Is there something else out there that I don't know about that the end consumer might know or might need to know that's coming to make this experience even better? I love, you know how much I love my backyard experience. I am a backyard aficionado. Like, I love to try to cook even though I'm average. I love to swim and party, and I love entertaining. This weekend, we're going to have Leith Lofton and Adam Hood on the top of that grotto bar. We're going to have people dancing. We're going to be safe about it. But we're going to have food, we're going to have music, we're going to have dancing, we're going to have everything about life, living life with passion. I love that part of it. Is there anything else that Sun Leisure Pool, Terry and Patty and Pat and Brad and Brittany and the entire Ladue clan, would you tell me I would do this before next summer?
Nope, not that I can think of.
Nothing?
No.
Not even the waterfalls that you have coming up over your fence that shoot from the heavens and down into the pool?
They look cool, but they're just glitz and glam. I mean, yeah, they look all right. I mean, maybe that it lit back lighting with the waterfalls, they're cool, but I don't think they're a need be, because honestly, when you're swimming, you usually shut them off because they're just splash on everybody's head anyways. You eliminate part of the pool that you're using. So, I mean, it's really just for looks at the end of the day, if you ask me.
So there's nothing else that's going to make my experience back here better?
You know, you can put more technology into your pumps and filters and heaters, but how often do you really just want to go over there and play with the controls of your pool? It's set and forget it already. I mean, it's cool that you can say, hey, Alexa, turn on my pool to 90 degrees instead of go press a button. But, I mean, that's about it.
So as far as the pools you've been around, and this pool here specifically, the amount of fun that has been had with kids jumping off this bar roof and we're safe. I want to make sure that people out there understand that we're safe and we have everybody's safety first and foremost. I don't want to come across like it's just a no holds barred freaking Playboy Mansion grotto party. It's freaking family orientated with Traeger grills going off and a lot of responsibility, a lot of great people in this backyard always. This is fun, right? This is what Sun Leisure is all about. Let's end it by talking about the culture of Sun Leisure. When you shoot your music video, what song is playing? And would you use my backyard? You've already asked me to maybe bring some pictures to this new thing that this contest that's coming up. Mm-hmm. But is this the ultimate playground? Can it get any better? What music is playing on the Sun Leisure music video as we watch the experience that the Ladue family can provide for a Reno, Northern Nevada family?
So yeah, your backyard, I mean, it has the best of both worlds. It has the adult fun with the bar, but also has the kid funs where they can jump off the top of it, you know, into the pool, in the deep end of the pool. You got the fire pit to be able to hang out at nighttime and relax and just hang out. You got the Traegers there to cook good food by the pool and eat. I mean, that's awesome, man. I mean, you have a little bit of everything for everybody. You got it for the kids, you got it for the older adults. It's great. I don't know what song I would play, to tell you the truth.
Are you serious?
Let's say an anthem for this summer. I don't even know.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard so many. You've introduced so many good artists to me this year. I don't know if I can grasp one that just hits me, because so many people you've introduced me to this year.
Oh, so you're thinking it might be a Brent Cobb or an Adam Hood or a Leith Lofton or
really,
Drake White.
Truly, yeah.
You wouldn't go with like DJ Jazzy Jeff with Summertime?
No, I don't
Summertime.
think so. No. I mean, I think there is an anthem song for this summer, but I honestly couldn't tell you, because it's been a great summer. It really has. We've had a lot of fun here.
I mean, it's been incredible. For COVID 2020,
oh man,
we made do. We
had more fun than anybody else in this country, I think.
We had to have.
Yeah.
I often wonder, like, how many guys are on their boats going from Miami to the Bahamas. Like, that's the greatest. I don't know if you've ever done that. 55 miles, you're just like,
ripping.
Oh, it's just the best. Like, and fishing across there. But, dude, for staying home and being safe with COVID, we made the best of it and had an unbelievable summer per the Sun Leisure culture.
Yeah, we definitely did. I mean, and that was the big thing this year. Pools and hot tubs were a huge hit as far as across the market, across the whole U.S. But you already had the pool. We took a huge advantage of that, already having it here and have a lot of fun with it. I mean, we've had so many different types of people from different places and different groups and all this stuff here, and all got along and all had a lot of fun. I don't know of anybody that didn't have a smile on their face at any time here.
So as you guys go into this next part of your life, let's say that, I don't know when Terry and Patty are going to retire, but let's say they do in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to make them because Terry and they need to go party somewhere, even though we party enough with them. It's hard though to give up your business, your baby, your vision, your that's you. That's who Terry and your mom Patty are. What do you say to them? Where do you and Brad take this company? How humbled are you to be in a position to have the parents that you did that had the vision to sacrifice? I mean, they didn't just go and clock in and clock out and get a paycheck and raise you guys and put you through high school and college. They took a risk. What do you say to them, and how much pride do you and your brother Brad and Brittany and your support crew have, let's say, for the next 30 years? Because you're going to, in the next 30 years, you're going to be your dad's age right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to be in this business for the next 30 years? What do you tell Terry and Patty? Is it a huge thank you and a huge amount of gratitude and a hug and a kiss? Or is it like, man, did you really have to put me into this business? Gosh, how does that conversation go when it's all said and done?
So much gratitude. My parents have taught me so much about being a business person, working hard, being a good person, being ethical on how you run your business. Definitely a huge thank you. I would not be the man I am without them today. They have great morals. They taught me and my brother very well on how to be a good person and run a good company. I don't think they'll be scared to turn over the reins when it's their day. But I don't think that's yet. I mean, they still enjoy doing what they're doing, and it is their baby. I mean, that's hard to leave. I mean, after that, then what? Go and travel the country and just relax, I guess. But they enjoy doing what they're doing still. They love their customers, and they love the camaraderie of the whole thing. And being in a family business, there's good and bad days, but there's more good than bad. That's for sure.
I love it. Should we go get in the pool?
Let's do it. Let's jump in.
This has been Dickies Workwear podcast series, brought to you by the This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast family of brands, with the Foul Life where the payment ends and This Life Ain't For Everybody. That's Pat Ladue, Sun Leisure Pools. We're going to have his brother on here. I might even be able to get his dad Terry on here, maybe Patty someday. But check him out. If you're in the Reno, Nevada area and you need the ultimate backyard experience, the spa experience, swimming pool experience, Sun Leisure. What's the website, Pat?
sunleisurePools.net.
They're on Instagram at Sun Leisure Pools. I'm tagging them. I just tagged them yesterday.
Yep.
No, and this morning. Mm-hmm. Man, the light show, the phone. You got this weird freaking tablet phone now that folds up in like a paper airplane mode. And he takes some whacking, just badass pictures. But support Dickies, support the sponsors and partners that support us. Dickies is there for the American worker. Their overalls, their coveralls, their pants, their shirts, their air ventilated shirts for warm weather, cold weather, you name it, insulation. Dickies provides it. They are an American company. We're so proud to be partnered up with Dickies Workwear, and this is the Dickies Workwear. Remember, we're playing off of those words. Dickies Workwear is WEAR, is apparel, clothing, but this is Dickies Workwear podcast, WHERE. Where are you working today? My dad always said, we are put on this earth to work and provide. We do love our families. We have to put them first and sacrifice for them, but we have to put food on the table. We have to put money in the bank accounts for a rainy day, and that takes work ethic, that takes vision, that takes sweat equity and elbow grease. I'm Chad Belding, your host. Thank you, Dickies, for everything that you do for us at all of our brands, including our TV, our podcast, and our social media and live events. Check Dickies Workwear out. They are everywhere, and we absolutely love them. Please continue to subscribe to our podcast. Tell your family and friends. Leave us some ratings and reviews. If you have any inquiries or questions, please don't hesitate to contact us on Instagram at This Life Ain't For Everybody, or at the Foul Life TV, or online at This Life Ain't For info at thislifeaintforeverybody.com, or info at thefoullife.com. I'm Chad Belding. We truly appreciate the support. Y'all take care. For Dickies, we out.